Hi, everybody, and welcome to the virtual launch of You Look Good for Your Age. My message today is mostly one of gratitude, and I am, first of all, going to thank all of you for being here. Um, we've just heard from Jen just before the event started um, some truly stunning attendance figures. And I am absolutely on the roof about it. And I thank every single person who is not only attending, but all the people who told other people about it, who advertised and amplified on social media, who sent an email to a friend. That all counts. And see, that's why we're such a huge and happy gathering right now. Um, to the University of Alberta Press, Shelf Life Books, and Glass Bookshop, thank you so much for hosting tonight's event. To everyone who put the word out about the book and about tonight's launch, once again, thank you. And to each reader who contributed work to You Look Good for Your Age, thank you. This book is yours as much as it is mine. In a way, You Look Good for Your Age came about because I got sick of waking up many times every night gasping for breath. This led to a diagnosis of apnea in 2018. While fitting me for a CPAP device, the respiratory therapist made the casual remark, "You look good for your age." I thanked her, but inside, I didn't like it. Why not? I wondered. Wasn't it a compliment? No doubt it was meant that way, but still, a normal person might forget about the remark, stop thinking about it, go on with life. But I am not a normal person. I am a writer and editor. Once I had figured out that the remark was definitely ageist, I started to become more aware of ageism, specifically as directed against people who identify as female. I asked other women writers of various ethnicities, straight and queer, aged in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, to send me their writings on women, aging, and ageism. Why did I ask women as young as in their 40s? Because that is when you start hearing this nonsense, you look good for your age, when you're in your 40s. You can be subject to ageism at such a young age. So emerged the nonfiction, fiction, and poetry that became You Look Good for Your Age. Now I return to what I started with, a message of gratitude. I am so grateful to the University of Alberta Press for expressing belief in my ability to pull this project off, even when I was not sure, or even when I was sure I could not. Um, and for being on board philosophically with the concept of the book, and for meticulously doing all the things a publisher does. Thank you to Director Doug Hildebrand, Associate Director Kathy Crooks, and particularly Acquisitions Editor Matt Bunton, who worked so closely and patiently with me to bring You Look Good for Your Age into being and make it the fine book it is. Thank you to Ellen Brownoff for yet another great book design, and to artist Rosa Luchford for the beautiful cover image. Thank you to Duncan Turner for production editing, and to Megan Craven for copy editing. Thank you to Lucy Altrows for taking the author photo on the back cover, although it involved making her mother schlep all over town until she had exactly the right background. But really, it paid off. Thank you to the Alberta Foundation for the Arts for the grant that allowed me pay my contributing writers and pay them well, something that is very important to me. And thank you to the Western Canadiana Publications Endowment for donating to the production of the book. Thank you to my family for unflagging emotional support, even on my bad days. Most of all, I thank the contributing writers whose thoughts and words made you look good for your age, the book it is. Here are their names in the order in which their work appears in the book. There is no other significance to the order. Sharon Batalla, Ariel Gordon, Wynne Sorby, Elizabeth Haynes, Roberta Reese, Olin Osbick, Debbie Bateman, Elizabeth Green, Joanne McKay, Lisa Whitby, Moni Brar, Laura Werschler, Madeline Shaw Wong, Dora Dewick, Paula Kerman, Jane Cawthorn, Aretha Van Herk, Lori Nielsen, Glenn E.D. Morin, Joyce Harries. And I've got a story somewhere in there too. Today, you'll be treated to readings by 5 of our contributing writers, and then we'll respond to some questions if there's time, and I think there will be. We'll begin with Aretha Van Herk. Aretha Van Herk is the author of 5 novels, 2 books of criticism, and many fiction and nonfiction and fictocritical texts, especially works investigating the idea of geographical and historical temperament as tonal accompaniment to landscape. Her latest publications are Prairie Gothic and In This Place with photographer George Weber, and the prose poetry work Stampede and the Westness of West. She has published hundreds of articles, reviews, and essays on Canadian culture. She teaches literature and creative writing in the Department of English at the University of Calgary in Alberta. Aretha Van Herk.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Rona. And thank you for including me in this collection, for giving me the opportunity to speak to this riposte. I want to say that I'm really grateful to be one of the contributors here because there are so many fantastic writers in this book. And Rona is the ultimate editor. Her curation of this collection showcases her skill. And I too want to thank the university for such an interesting gathering. So I am part of the furniture. The talkative Australian woman on the plane from Paris to Montpellier wants me to solve her cerebral enhancement puzzle, an app on her phone which involves making words out of scrambled letters. You're a professor, she says, it'll be easy for you. How she has maneuvered this information out of me is baffling, although her persistence persists. I occasionally play Scrabble on my own device, but I am on the whole uninterested in puzzles or brain games that will improve mental health and stave off the incipient softening of my faculties. I would rather read or gamble or cook or lift weights. When I can't decode the poser she shoves in my direction, she says, "How old are you? You look like you're my age." Canadians, I tell her, are reticent about discussing age, income, and cultural background. But she won't let up. Are you 60? Are you 55? Are you older? She is on her way to Montpellier to join a group of friends who will be bouncing around France, from there to Paris, then Nice and Grenoble to follow the games of FIFA, the Women's World Cup. We're their cheering section, the Matildas, she announces. But there is nothing waltz-like about her, and her knuckles are as bruised as a bouncer's. We've been champions 3 times. I'm 63. Are you a soccer player then, I ask. Oh no, she says, golf's my game. She wants beer, and the flight attendant hands her a Kronenbourg. She complains that it is too warm, but downs it efficiently, and when the cart passes again, demands another. No more, says the crisply scarfed Air France warden, as if beer were dangerous. Wouldn't you like French wine instead, I ask. Beer, she says. I like cold, cold beer. And she belches. But her word game fortunately distracts her, and even while she mutters over its frustrations, she is ready to jump out of her seat when we touch down. No matter how old you are, she declares, you look pretty good for your age. For all her prying, her guileless energy heartens me. She travels alone. She follows women's football. She is unafraid of speaking bad French overlain with an Australian accent. And I imagine she will find infinite varieties of beer, will test them all the way through France. I am sure she will be the rowdiest and loudest of the Matildas in the stands, definitely a rager, a person who parties long and hard in Australian argot, and no invisible granny at all. Women of my generation have much to say about being invisible and despised, about the expectation that we will be reticent and stoic, that we should grow old gracefully, which translates as silent, compliant, and inconspicuous. The pervasive complaint, once women cross 50, is of not being seen, being invisible. But I cherish this power, have always yearned to disappear, have written about disappearance in many of my books and stories, have disappeared my characters and disappeared myself. In disappearing, I can become more than I am. By avoiding regard, I am less present, but more powerful. Invisibility argues the temptation of erasure, the sleight of hand that puts me in the magician's shoes. No longer assistant to the illusionist, I am the one conjuring myself into a space where I have complete freedom to be joyfully invisible, free to say and do what I wish without recrimination or its pedagogy. Most of all, I'm interested in turning my experience into art, words, an engravement and capture of my pain and pleasure, whereas younger writers obscure those aspects or try to decorate them. We may outlive what we lose, but the losses of experience have less to do with diminishment than with increased liberty. I am less patient than I was at 50. I am stronger than I was at 40. I am smarter than I was at 30. I am wiser than I was at 20. And I am more furious than ever. I refuse to be a senior. I am senior, period. I have earned that right. And while you may think I am part of the furniture, I am neither immobile nor retro. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce our next reader, Moni Brar. Moni is an Indian-born Canadian writer and poet who explores the intersection of race, culture, and gender, and that impact on identity and belonging. She upends the roles of power and privilege as they relate to the immigrant experience. A traveler and an astute observer, she was selected for the 2019 Borderlines Writers Circle. Welcome, Moni Brar.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Aretha. And thank you, Rona, for including me in the anthology and inviting my voice this evening. I'm going to be reading two pieces tonight. So they're two poems from the anthology, both of which explore societal expectations, aging, and motherhood. The first one is called Kissing Kismet Goodbye, and it's a reflection on my lack of desire and inability to have children, which is paramount and the most critical milestone for women in the Punjabi culture. Kissing Kismet Goodbye. I've failed so utterly, so completely. They say, lips clicking, smug eyes, batting false eyelashes. They feed me mouthfuls of pity, like bite-sized samosas spiced with cumin and sympathy. They dance around me, Bollywood style, bedazzled by their own splendor, showcasing midriffs with scars to prove their ability to create. I'm so tired carrying men and mothers in this, always uphill. No time for rest. Rest is for the weak, or is it the wicked? I am both. An old crone, barren, with crow's feet, where birds used to alight and dance on my face, in the corners of my eyes, before Miss was replaced with ma'am. Dame, grandame, grandma, I will never be. The second piece is in honor of my aunt, who died when her aged body wasn't able to birth her seventh child and she was denied medical care. So this poem is called Rajyana, and Rajyana is the name of my ancestral village in India. And this is also the village where my aunt died. This village was her second home. Winter mornings with fog so thick you could cup it with your heart. The whirring of peacocks on the rooftop, iridescent feathers left behind, small gifts for the children to find, the rustle of mourning doves at daybreak, the ping of metal, the first drop, smooth and heavy as a swollen belly. Water buffalo milk hits the pail, soon to be transformed into cha, butter, lassi, nighttime bedside warm milk to make eyelids heavy. Crisp cotton branches snap, feed, crackle in the eager mouth of the chula, ebbing the chill, fueling the day. Plumes of smoke rise, turning thin as a young girl's wrist, blackening the rasoi, its shelves bare. She lies on a manja, the cot. Women who came before her wove, their hands long gone, their bodies and its fibers frayed, loose ends blown away. Her limbs are limp, greedy for memories of hers and others. She came to Rajyana with rapture in her eyes and her nose ring, a young bride filled with hope as sweet as marigolds. Now something dank spools from her belly. Unbidden, unkept, it ages her body, soul. Like a soothing ritual, she breathes out. She prays in, whispers, for strength or release. The only thing growing is her darkness, nourished and blinding. Rajyana was never home. Thank you for listening. I'd like to introduce the next reader, Paula Kerman. Paula is an award-winning writer, photographer, filmmaker, musician, and activist from Edmonton. She edits an inner city community newspaper and works with numerous nonprofit groups as a communications and media consultant. Some of her awards include the Award of Merit for Advocacy of Social Justice from the Edmonton Social Planning Council, the Salvos Pre-Lorenzo's Peace Award from Project Plowshares Edmonton, and the Human Rights Champion Award from the John Humphrey Center for Peace and Human Rights for being a pioneering media artist and community organizer. She's also received first prize in the 2016 Edmonton Inner City Poetry Contest and was a finalist in the 2017 International Songwriting Competition. So here's Paula.
Thank you, Moni, and thank you, Rona, for inviting me to take part in this anthology and for your wisdom and your patience as you edited my work. I'm going to read from my essay called Adult Tween. The joy of being ID'd. I went to a Bad Religion concert a few years ago. Although I was one of the older audience members, I felt at home among the youth adorned with faux hawks and facial piercings, many of whom hadn't been born when the legendary LA punk band first hit the scene in the 80s. Most of the guys in the band were older than 40-ish me. As I stood in line to enter the venue, I got ID'd. I think it was just the policy of the venue, but I still felt giddy. Why? Why should I feel happy about being taken for younger than my age? I recall experiencing that same sense of joy and satisfaction many years earlier when I was mistaken for being older. When people thought I was already in university, although I was still in high school. And then when people thought I was in grad school, although I was still in undergrad. Getting older was something to be desired. It meant growing up, finishing school. It meant getting a chance to see the world, to experience love, do whatever fun things real adults got to do. Then somewhere along the line, I began internalizing the message that getting older was a bad thing. I would be judged by society, not on my talents and abilities, but by my age. It could be a reason to be rejected for jobs, partners, opportunities. Those who identified as men would not be subject to harsh criticisms for their wrinkles, gray hair, or advancing years. Society viewed them as experienced, desirable. We who identify as women were seen by society as used up, worn out, done. It didn't seem fair. How could anyone be judged poorly based on something as natural as growing older? I made my decision. I was going to rock it, keep on working in the arts, perform music, write, and not let it faze me that every year my colleagues seemed to be getting younger. Ma'am. Can I help you, ma'am? That dreaded word that almost everyone who presents as a woman hears at some point. I don't exactly recall the circumstances of my first ma'am, but I know it happened long before the silver streaks in my hair became as prominent as they are now. I learned from an early age not to take ma'am with offense. It's how some people were taught to refer to women in a respectful manner, but not just any women, older women, women who have matured to the point where they are owed respect befitting their perceived age. Did I just use the word matured? That's almost always used as a euphemism for old. Don't call me ma'am, I have heard some of my friends say. Although I have not gone quite as far as verbally objecting yet, I have considered it. At the very least, I understand where my friends are coming from. The word not only implies an assumption about my age, but it is a binary term that makes an assumption about a person's gender. I'm of the mindset that we don't need to add a gender qualifier to say, excuse me, or ask if a person would like to sit down. Interestingly, I have witnessed an objection from a man to being called sir only once, and for the same reason as many women have given. He didn't want to be labeled or identified as an old man, because being old is a bad thing, or at least that's how he saw it. Caught in the middle. I'm in my mid-40s. Although in many ways, I still feel the tugs of youthful energy, it's been a long time since I could be classified as young in the traditional sense. However, I'm still a ways away from old age and all of those things that come with it. Retirement, federal pension, the senior's discount. Oh, but wait, I have already experienced the latter. Not that long ago, I was examining a receipt from a store and noticed I had been given the senior's discount. I had already left the store and had no way to inquire why this benefit had been bestowed upon me. Another assumption. On the other hand, I've gotten comments about my looks being on the other end of the spectrum. You look so much younger than in this picture, said the bank teller after I showed her my driver's license. And really, Does anyone look good in one of those photos? I guess that's why my stage of life is called middle age. In comparative terms, I'm the adult equivalent of a tween. In realistic terms, how my age is interpreted depends on the others in my immediate social circle and the eyes of my beholders. When I attend concerts or social actions and the majority of the other people there are in or barely out of their 20s, I'm the elder stateswoman. However, when I got involved in community organizing and advocacy, I started to attend planning meetings with people 10 to 20 years older than me. I was the kid in the group, despite being well into my 30s. As we have all aged since then, I'm still the kid, as absurd as that seems now. I am caught between two worlds. Thank you. And it is now my pleasure to introduce our next reader, Lori McFadden. Lori McFadden is an award-winning writer, painter, and sports journalist who has published 3 poetry titles with Frontenac House. Her writing has also appeared in the New Quarterly, Alberta Views, Free Fall, and Queering the Way, and has been performed in Edmonton's Loud and Queer Cabaret, the Skirts Afire Festival, and the Queer the Arts Festival in Calgary. Her short story, Haircut, won the Howard O'Hagan Prize at the 2017 Writers Guild of Alberta Literary Awards, and her debut collection, White Shirt, was shortlisted for the Lambda Literary Awards. Lori McFadden.
Thank you, Paula. I have 2 poems to read for you tonight. First, I just wanted to comment on something that you just read there, Paula. I was first asked if I qualified for the seniors discount by a Safeway cashier when I was 35. Anyway, this first piece is called The Petals in Me. I am the one who paints the trees, the heart of a maiden but never a bride, soon to be called crone, if I am called at all. I am achy limbs and dodgy memory, high salt in the blood and dimming vision, mostly iris, hint of daffodil, the reach of ambitious sunflower, bending, turning from shade whenever possible. Never as quick or nimble as the petals in me used to be, as I once was, as I remember. Forever wordsmith, painter, forever wishing I were pilot. I am one who walks more slowly and swims hardly ever now. I still stare at the wild blue, ponder clouds in awe, feeling small and pointless, forever buoyed by soft air and melody. I am an old woman, content now to think more and talk less. Of course, I want justice and peace, and to live inside the authentic, under a wide-brimmed hat. I cast out the shaming mirror. I don't care how I look. I want to be kind. I want to be good. I'm going to take this opportunity to say hi to a few people who've never heard me read in any form because they live far across the country, particularly my friend Anne in Aurelia, who I've known since grade 4. And she just had a big milestone birthday, which allowed her to retire and start collecting her CPP. So happy belated birthday, Anne, and I'm glad you're out there. You will be amazed. You won't believe these incredible websites that will take years off your saggy, wrinkly, middle-aged face and ease you into dotage. For women, complimentsover40.com, complimentsover50.com.
Bree, you're muted.
No, I'm not. You can't hear me?
You're okay, Lori. I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, somebody told me I was muted, sorry.
Yeah.
For women, complimentsover40.com, complimentsover50.com, areas that sag over 60.com, get younger skin right away.com, skin tightening masks.com, fake fuller lips.com, embrace gray eyebrows.com, look 10 years younger in 10 days.com, how can I look hot at 50.com, how can I still look hot at 70.com, keep your pucker primed.com, say goodbye to skin blotches.com, don't throw away the end of the cucumber.com, make a paste of choose any 3 crushed rock salt, turmeric, honey, coffee, chocolate, red wine, avocado, buttermilk, oatmeal, egg white, milk. Apply to your face for 15 or 45 minutes. Scrape off and say hello to a younger you. Pro tip, this can also be refrigerated up to 5 days and served as a party dip. For men, how to text older women you like.com, compliments women can't resist.com, compliments women desperately want but men never give.com. You will be amazed how fast insecure, vulnerable, wrinkly, rich old women will fall for your compliments.com. Embrace your natural hair color. Fact, women find gray hair sexy. Use under eye cream every day. Pro tip, get your body hair under control. Thanks for listening, everybody. It's now my pleasure to introduce our next reader, Debbie Bateman. Debbie is a graduate of the Writer's Studio at Simon Fraser University. She recently completed a collection of linked short stories about women at midlife and their relationship with their bodies. The 2 stories that appear in this anthology will also appear in that collection. Her work is in the anthology Shy and has appeared in or is forthcoming in Descant, Euphemism, and Emerge 18. She blogs about creative writing at debbiebateman.ca. Please welcome Debbie Bateman.
Thank you, Lori. And thank you, Rona, for including me in the anthology. I'm going to read from my short story, Sundowning. In the upstairs room of my parents' home, I stand before my father's mahogany desk. Murky light creeps in through the window. My fist holds a wad of cash. Through the heavy silence, a voice creaks behind me. You're nothing but a stinking thief. Over my shoulder, I see the sagging cheeks of a sharp-eyed old woman. It's okay, Mom. I was clearing away Dad's things. Remember, I told you we have to go through his papers. The man hadn't said a word to me in 40 years. Yet he made me executor of his will. He'd been through chemo and radiation and a final stay in a hospice, months of knowing the end was near, and he never once contacted me. Don't pretend I can't see what you're doing, Pauline. Where'd that money come from? My thumb rubs the edge of the stack. The crisp new bills snap. Like many things in my parents' lives, I don't know how to explain it. Mom never had a job other than being the wife of a judge. She'd let Dad control everything. Don't stand there looking stupific. I'm not a fool, you know. Mom's jaw moves like she's chewing food. Her eyelids lower. And for a moment, her expression freezes. Are you stupid, girl? She's been doing that a lot lately. Messing up words and fixing them as if there's a 5-second rule for dropping the wrong syllable. Change it fast enough and it's still safe to put in your mouth. It was at the back of his desk. Who keeps that much cash? You'd think he'd be more careful. The desk drawer is still open and I consider tucking the money back where I found it. If I move fast enough, maybe she'll forget what she saw. I can go back later when she's not watching and retrieve it without causing a fuss. Dusk is the hardest time of day. The fading light worsens the confusion, makes her do things she'd never have done before. She's forgotten to do up all the buttons on her mauve silk shirt. Peekaboo glimpses of skin and a faded bra show through the gaps. Don't play innocent with me, Missy. You've been going through my stuff and taking things. First, you tricked me into letting you into the office. Now you're stealing from me. I pinch my lips and shake my head. For crying out loud, Mom, stop this nonsense. Listen to what you're saying. A bony finger jabs at my face. I'm going to call the police. I'm going to have you arrested. I slap the wad of cash into her hand. Fine then, take it. Her face blanches, the cheeks slackening, her mouth hanging open. I'm telling myself she's out of reach, when all at once her faraway mind awakens, bright-eyed and fully on, all of her attention focused on me. I can't stop myself. In the hidden places of my mind, a secret thrill rises. Over the years, I tried to stay in contact with Mom. We'd have secret meetings in parks and restaurants, quiet late night phone calls. When even those stopped, I'd figured she'd done what she always did to me, back away and turn silent. If I'd been in closer touch, I'd have known she was having problems. I'm face to face with it now, and my daughter has been dragged along with me. I never asked her to interrupt her studies, but when Emma sees a problem, she can't help wanting to fix it. It's her best quality and her worst. She's doing a master's in social work. Her thesis is on Alzheimer's, and she claims this is an opportunity for research. I can't deny she brings an air of calm to the impossible situation. After the incident with the cash, there's nothing I can do to settle Mom down. Then Emma returns, and within minutes, she has Mom resting easy in her favorite winged back chair in front of a nature show on TV. Eager to finish, I return to Dad's office. The sooner I settle the accounts, the sooner we can decide what to do about Mom, and Emma can return to her studies. I'm old enough to get a senior's discount some places. It's time we all forgot what happened to me as a child. Thank you, and back to Rona.
Okay, here I am. I think I've unmuted myself. Thank you. It took me for a second. Somebody, what are you doing? Are you trying to make me look unprofessional?
No.
This is Bill, everybody. I was just going to say that I was so overtaken, overwhelmed by the content of these readings that it is hard for me to collect myself right now. I'm trying though. I thought these people were, I thought every one of you did an exceptional job. And I think now it is time for us to entertain questions if there are any. Here I am getting ready to entertain you or to be entertained or something. Does anybody have any questions? Put your questions in where? The chat? Is that right? Chat? Yes. Please put your questions in the chat. We're getting lots of nice comments, which is really great. Every single reading has had sincere, positive comments, which is lovely. So does this mean we don't have any questions? Okay. Let's give it another couple of minutes. You can ask questions about process. You can ask questions about content, whatever you want, you know. Yes, somebody says, Naomi is telling us that I remember being told I look good for my age at 24, so it starts early. That is true. And, Lori's saying that she was asked about, offered the seniors discount at 65. I remember we went to, we have an actual question here. How long did it take to bring the pieces in and form the collection? Well, it was kind of, it was a very natural process in the sense that I did invite some people, But some of those people suggested other people because this is what happens in community. So I contacted some people, whom I hadn't actually met before, although I was familiar with some of their work because I'm kind of a constant, pretty much obsessive reader, and I read quite widely. Um, and I read, big publications, small publications, publications that some people wouldn't even call publications at all. I read it all. So I'd heard of a lot of these people, but once I saw more of their work, I became convinced. So in answer to your question, I'm not sure. I think it was probably about a year before I had everybody in place, and maybe another year for us to, do all the editing and the further editing and the further editing. Did I mention that I'm fussy? These people gave me great work, so it was all a pleasure for me. The other thing is that because University of Alberta Press has very that's kind of a combination of exacting and exasperating standards. Exasperating only in the sense that I think, can't you just make a special exception? But they're like, no, Rona, you have to submit a proposal, and you have to be rigorously edited yourself by Matt Bunton, and you have to have 2 peer reviewers read this and think that it's as it should be, and then you have to have them read it again, and you cannot skip any of those steps. Do you understand us, Rona? So I was like, okay. So because they put me through all that, that's why you have such a great book. This book is what it is largely because of the standard maintained by the University of Alberta Press. Obviously, it has everything to do with the writers, and I'm not saying it has nothing to do with me, but I'm telling you, they don't let anybody get away with anything. Do not, if you ever submit anything to this press, do not attempt to cut any corners. I mean, I didn't really try to cut any corners. No, I didn't really try to. But what I'm saying is, you can't. Okay. What's the next question? Lot of comments about people having, being told that they look good for their age at various different ages or variations on that. Just a lot of ageist remarks that start early for women. So what happens to men as they become older? I mean, a man asked me, not the one who bombed the picture over here, another man asked me, he said, well, why are you not putting men in this book? Why can't you talk about ageism against men? And I'm not saying it doesn't exist. And what I suggested to this person, who in fact is a writer and a very good one, is why don't you do that book? That is not the book I'm doing. Maybe that should be the book you do. But I also think, from the depths of my soul, and from what I've observed in my rather long already life, women get it a lot more than men. Men get older, it's no big deal. People say, you look distinguished, you look dignified. Women get older, they say, I know where you can get some work done really cheap, and they do such a good job. You'll look 40, it's terrible. And it's constant. It's in advertising. It's when you walk down the street. It's when you go into a restaurant. It's a very constant thing. Oh, that's true. It's being pointed out to me by somebody who obviously is egalitarian more than I am. Men are bombarded with commercials about ED and low T and hair color for men. Okay, I'm prepared to concede that, but I think that people who identify as female have it a lot harder. That's what I'm saying. That's one woman's opinion. I would say guys, if you're listening and you want to do this, do your book, do it. And if you don't mind exacting standards, you could even make a proposal to the University of Alberta Press. What else? Well, okay, we still have time for a little bit more. How do writers, where is that? How do writers deal with the thought that we should be writing for the 18 to 24 males? Well, I personally don't care. I mean, I just write whatever I think needs writing, and I would invite anybody to read it. And in fact, as far as this book goes, it was, it's been suggested to me, let's say more than once, oh, so you're writing for a certain market, a certain demographic. And that demographic is women over 50 or women over 60 or something. And I would say, you see, that's exactly what we're talking about here. Don't make these assumptions. How do you know? I mean, I happen to know that there's a 22-year-old male in this audience. I know it because he's my nephew. And I'll bet you he reads this book. I'll bet you he does. He's read some of my other stuff. And he doesn't read it and say, hey, Auntie Rona, apart from the fact that you're old and beyond it, like that wasn't too bad. I kind of held my nose and read it. No, he enjoys it. He talks to me about it. He's engaged. And so I would say this book is for everybody, Let's get past defining people by their age. It's so limiting. It wrecks your enjoyment of life, right? It
Hey, Rona.
means that if you're a beginning writer at 54, it means that you're saying, oh, I can't begin now, I'm 54. Yes, you can. There is no wrong time to start.
Rona, I'm wondering, we have about 8 minutes left. Do we want to spend 5 minutes and see if some of our readers have some comments on all of the chatter?
Sure, absolutely. Let's do it. Do you want to go in the order in which you read? Aretha, what would you like to say about?
I'm reading these questions and they're so germane. Would you like the wisdom discount? I like that very much. But also, I think we all have different experiences with this, and I think men do too. I don't think it's a competition, but it's a different approach to men than it is to women. I think, and someone asked that question, I'm sorry, the chat's moving so quickly. What about the real issue that it is assumed that older people cannot do certain jobs? And that's when I bristle. I don't know about the rest of you, because I think being older and wiser and having been kicked around sufficiently, I know exactly what I can do. So thank you. And I really want to say that everyone in this book, I, as you can see, I have a copy and I read it and it's so good. So, I mean, everyone else's is so good. Thanks, Rona.
Okay, who came after you? I can't remember the order anymore.
I did, Rona. It's Moni here.
Hey, Moni, yes.
Yes, I'm finding it fascinating to read all of the comments. There's lots, lots of compliments, but lots of questions. So I'm I guess not surprised, but happy to see that this book is pushing buttons across gender and culture, across many types of identities. So yeah, I feel like within this book, there's going to be stories that resonate with all of your readers. And I'm just really proud to be part of that.
They're your readers too, Moni.
Yes, thank you. Our readers.
Our readers. Right. That certainly was my intent. And I hope you're right, Moni. It's certainly, I never meant it just for one group. I mean,
Mhm.
that's never been my vision ever.
Yes.
Actually, for anything, come to think of it.
It's great.
Okay, so who came after Moni? Why is my mind,
Paula.
Paula?
That
Oh,
would be
you
me.
there?
Yeah. So it's actually really interesting because this afternoon I was in the same store that is anonymously referenced in my essay, and I was asked if I qualify for the seniors discount. And I think that maybe they weren't sure because of the mask. I don't know, but I thought it was kind of cool that they asked and didn't just assume. And of course I told the truth and I said no. I said no, but I've gotten it here before, so I'm not. If you want to give it to me, I won't refuse. But no, yeah. I'm just really enjoying reading all of the comments, and in my essay, I deal with a number of life circumstances very, very quickly, and I would love to get people's reaction to it. I'm going to drop my social media handles in the chat if that's okay, if anyone would like to get in touch with me with any questions or anything afterwards.
Great. Lori read next.
Yeah, I would like to somewhat address one of the questions in the chat. How did the sections of the book come together? Insight, elders, body, love, timelines, and enough. And having been in a few anthologies before this one, I want to stress that this is a really difficult thing to do. So all kudos to Rona for being able to slot the things into, specific sections, because as you heard tonight, there's a whole gamut of different types of reading in here, different, and some of it is profoundly sad, and some of it, found the humor in getting old, and the comments that we endure, that so I just, it might look easy, or you might think it was easy to just say, oh well, this one goes into insight and this one goes into body. I mean, really, they're all about the body in a certain extent, and timelines, whatever. So again, I just want to give full credit to Rona for being able to package it the way she did. And one other thing that I wanted to say, I think I've just forgotten what it was. Oh, I know what it was. To liken that, someone else asked, where did the name come from? Who maybe wasn't here at the beginning when you explained what you look good for your age, backhanded compliment that it is. And I just wanted to say, I've been hearing this sort of thing all my life, because as a younger woman, I played a lot of sports. And often I was the best boy on the team. And that people that would watch me, and whether it was hitting a baseball or playing tennis or badminton or whatever, I would hear constantly, you play really good, ... for a girl. And they assumed I would be happy to hear this. And it was like, well, why do you have to add the for the girl, for a girl part? I mean, why can't you just give a woman a compliment and say, yeah, you play really good? Why do you have to qualify it by saying, for a girl who's not supposed to have any sporting ability, you play good, or or you sing well, or you write well, or whatever? It's just and I'm sure, yeah, there are probably areas out there that are just as unfair to the men in the world, but this book is about us and for us. And so, yeah, don't apologize for the fact that the men's side isn't represented in this particular anthology. Thank you.
Well said. And I was just thinking as you said that, what a tough time women in sport are still being given. There's that's in the news this week, actually. That's still happening. Let's see. Debbie.
Yes, well, this has been a wonderful experience in every way. The best part, reading that anthology, such a profound look at the many aspects of aging, something we all go through. And I so greatly admire Rona's arrangement of the pieces. It's a really deep exploratory experience. And I'm not often told anymore that I look good for my age, but I used to get, you look just the same. As in, you look the same as you did when you were 20 or 30 or whatever. And why would I want to? My face shows my life.
Did you want to say more? Or?
I know I really have been having trouble taking in everything that's going on, such a celebratory gathering, but I know I made someone cry, and that's my superpower. So really,
yeah, you
really
made me
glad
cry,
to
and I've
know
read that story about
it's
12
intact.
times.
Yeah.
You made me cry again. You know, I just want to say, because several people have mentioned it, about the division into sections, thematic sections. That's how Julie Sedovey and I divided up weighting also, the previous anthology for University of Alberta Press that I was involved in. One of the previous ones. There was another previous one with Naomi Lewis, Shy. But these last two have been divided by theme, and I just like themes, you know. I don't think that it's a particular credit to me that I did it that way. I just see themes emerging sometimes, and I like one word titles. So in a way, I feel that you're giving me too much credit for analytic power, because a lot of this was purely instinctive. And the other thing I want to say is that these pieces are, every piece is complex, including the ones that are ostensibly funny. Every single piece is complex, and there is a lot of thematic overlap everywhere. So, so in a sense, I mean, I wouldn't say that the thematic divisions are arbitrary, but I would say they are not indicative of genius on my part. Maybe we should end on that, Kathy. That Rona's not a genius.
I think it's been wonderful, and I think you should move into your last few bits. What I would love to be able to do, but I just am not technically able to do it, is put everybody who's here, who's in the anthology, up on the screen. But I see you, and just am so thrilled that so many of the people who are in the anthology were able to make it tonight. So
yes,
this
me
was
too.
beautiful.
Also, Kathy, when you're putting together these notes in the chat and the authors are listed, I am one of the authors, so please add my name.
Absolutely.
I think that came up because when I listed them, I didn't list myself.
That's right. I cheated and I didn't count.
Yes, but that doesn't mean that I don't want you to, that I don't want you to list me. Right. Anyway, I have to tell you, Kathy has been a total godsend through this whole thing. She's helped me so much. I have leaned on her very, very heavily. I'm not a technological, you know, I'm not a total tyro or neophyte, but it's not my field, right? And this person is a professional publicist, and she's darn good at it, and very, very good at kind of keeping on top of developments in her own field, including, you know, the need to become more technologically savvy. Probably for me as an editor, it's also important, but I haven't done it. She has. Thank you, Kathy. So I guess we will wind up now, although it seems a little bit sad to do so, but actually you don't have to really say goodbye, because, you know, there's always the book. And so while this is the end of our virtual launch, this is not the end of your involvement with You Look Good for Your Age. I want to thank all our readers tonight. You were great. you know, you were so good in rehearsal. I thought, well, if they're about half as good as that on the day, I'll be happy. But you were, you know, way better even than in rehearsal. And I want to again thank our hosts, the University of Alberta Press, Shelf Life Books, and Glass Bookshop. Thank you, Jen, for your technical expertise. This moment is the right moment for you to order your own copy of You Look Good for Your Age. See, that's another thing about me that I think is a little weird. I really don't mind being involved in telling people it's a good idea to buy this book. Like, buy it, go out and buy it, really. I don't mind being involved in that. I don't feel that I'm sullying my hands. I think it will be really, really a great addition to your bookshelf. It makes a good gift, etc. We support independent bookstores. You know, my mother, I think about my mother a lot at this time of year because she didn't have a time enough in her life to be told you don't look good for your age and live long enough for that. But she always used to say about people who, she used to say, I'm going to say, we all know who the mega booksellers are. And I will tell you what my mother would say to and about them. She would say, may they be happy. We support independent bookstores. If you are in or near Calgary, you can order from Shelf Life Books. If you are in or near Edmonton, you can order from Glass Bookshop. If you are elsewhere, you know who your indie booksellers are. So please support them. Thank you so much for coming out to our celebration. And goodbye. And one more thing, you look good.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.